Hello, friends, and welcome back to Julie the Author. I am reacting to another one of my book unhauls. This one is the first one of 2018, February to be exact. I don't know how long it is. I don't know how many books I unhauled, and I don't know what I unhauled. I have not watched any of these videos. It's just another one of my series of reacting to my unhauls to see if I regret any of them and if I need to go onto Pango and repurchase them. I am not partnered with Pango, but I do have a whole bunch of affiliate links down there for StreamYard, for Scrivener, Vellum. Yep, other things that I use. Anyway, I do have a Pango account, and any money that I get there from selling books, I just leave there to repurchase books. So I'm going to check and see if any of the books that I unhauled in February of 2018 need to make it back onto my shelves. We're going to share a screen and react together because you're going to find out at the same time I do if I've made good life choices. Oof. We have finally gotten to the new intro. I'm so
All right,
thrilled.
guys. So I'm not going to do any kind of like a crazy disclaimer. I'm not keeping these books. No, I'm not sending them to you. I'm going to sell them back to Half Price Books. And
Oof, the sass, the spice, the sheer audacity. Also, I am staring at the books that are in the background there, and I don't own any of those anymore either, so that's interesting.
let's jump into it. First up is Rosebud by A.G. Howard. I'm not doing this to myself. I got to page 15. This is one of the books that is signed. It's got a signed book plate. I can't.
I'm not a Phantom of the Opera girly. It's not my jam. It's not my jam. I don't regret that.
Do this to myself. I don't like it at all. The 12 Days of Dash and Lily, which is the second of the Dash and Lily series by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan. I read the first one from the library, and then I got this one on Book Outlet around Christmas time. I don't love it. It's not a horrible series, but the kids are just not relatable to me. I didn't enjoy it.
I don't regret that at all. Also, I keep leaning down because I'm using Amber's Yeti and it feels fancy. I don't know if it sounds fancy, but I keep leaning down because it's down here. I am not an ASMR girly. I actively actually hate it, so I apologize. But yeah, no, I don't regret getting rid of that at all.
Also, I'm going to get rid of Dream a Little Dream by Kirsten Geiger, which is a silver trilogy. I just can't care. It's a trilogy. I only have the first one, and I was going to just read this and see what I thought about it. But the more I look at it, it's about mysterious doors with lizard head knobs and talking statues and crazy girls with a hatchet. It sounds very Alice in Wonderland-y.
It's like giving Labyrinth and Alice in Wonderland, and I didn't know if it was supposed to be Beauty and the Beastie, but yeah, I don't regret not reading that. I don't regret not having that series. I'm okay without it.
Like that. I just don't think I'm ever going to read it, so I don't want to keep it. I am also getting rid of The Sandcastle Empire by Kayla Olson, which...
Guys, the number of Outcrate books that I got rid of, and I was actively paying for Outcrate the entirety of my channel. So all the Outcrate boxes that I ever got, I paid for, and I unhauled so many of them. I have so few of those left. But at the time, I was like, oh, it's content for the channel. Oh, it's exciting. Everybody else is doing it, so I should be doing it too. I got rid of all of these books.
I'm not even going to try to read it. I don't want it. I'm just going to get rid of it. I know I'm not going to read it. I am getting rid of A Dance with Dragons and A Feast of Crows by George R.R. Martin. I do have all of these in giant hardback. I will be getting rid of all of them when I get my books back from storage because just no. I'm never going to reread these. I'm going to continue with the show, but I don't care about the books anymore. Like, I hate read the two of these. Like,
I don't regret that even a little bit. I have no faith that he's actually going to finish the series, nor do I care. Could not at this point pick up the last book and understand it. I'd have to reread them all, and I will not do that to myself again. That's just time of my life I'll never get back.
The Leap, which is by Rick Smith. This is like a self-help, knowing when to jump and when to take a chance. And I got to page 62. I don't care. I'm not keeping it.
I am not a self-help girly. Ooh, I can see that this one is another self-help book. I'm not a self-help girly. I think that I want to be, and I want to do all this like bettering of myself. And it's not that I don't want to better myself. Trust me, your girl's in therapy. I'm doing all I can to make myself a better person. However, the self-help books are not going to be the way that I go. It's just not going to be my thing. So, I don't regret getting rid of those.
I'm also going to get rid of These Success Principles, How to Get from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be by Jack Canfield, because I read it and I don't need it. I read it actually in audiobook, and then I got the physical copy because I thought I wanted to like take notes in it and stuff, but I just don't need it. I'm getting rid of this. This is the Luminary.
Okay, so I don't remember actively listening to that book on audiobook. However, I don't regret not having it. The Luminaries, I don't regret getting rid of it because I want to read it. I don't want to read it. I regret getting rid of it because I genuinely love this cover. I think it's what really drew me to the book, despite the premise probably not being one that I'm interested in.
Luminaries by Eleanor Catton. Natasha from My Reading is Odd tried to read this. This is one of her TBR jar picks. She couldn't. She DNF'd it. This was a book outlet order for me, and it's about the New Zealand gold rush, and there's like magical realism in it, but it's a historical fiction, and I don't want to read historical fictions. I need to realize that about myself and just get rid of it. I'm getting rid of Casey West's P.S. I Like You, which yet again is another signed Owlcrate book. I read it. It was fine. I'm never going to reread it.
Was it fine? Was it fine, Julie? Casey West is another one. She's not for me. It's a Sarah Dessen, Morgan Matson, Casey West situation. They're not the authors for me.
And I just don't need to keep it. Morgan Matson's The Unexpected Everything, because I hated it. I really didn't like this book.
I've literally already mentioned this in another one of the videos. Why is it still on my shelf? I'm sorry, because I've bamboozled you.
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. Again, I read it. I don't need to keep it. I'm getting rid of Speak by Laurie Hull.
So I don't know about the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, if I've mentioned that one before. But again, like I said, self-help books, not really my jam. Speak, I think I got this around the time that they were making it a movie, or it was already made a movie, but I wanted to like it, and I didn't. I tried to read it. I DNF'd it. I'm not an Ellen Hopkins kind of a girly, like the whole prosy. And there was something about this one, despite the fact that I think the subject matter could have been really moving and something that I connected with, the writing style was not.
Anderson. This one I got in a book outlet order, and I tried to read it, and then I DNF'd it, and I just don't need to keep it. I didn't like the way that it was written. I didn't like the writing style. I didn't like it. And I know it's probably got this like great message. I know it's like a classic. A ton of people love it. I didn't like it, and I'm not going to force myself to read it. The Cahill Witch trilogy, that is Born Wicked, Star Cursed, and Sister's Fate, books 1, 2, and 3. I read book 1, and I didn't like it. I think I gave it like a 3-star, but honestly, I don't want to invest time into the rest of this series when I didn't like the first book and just hope it gets better. It is a historical fantasy, so it's like witches, but like set back in time, and I don't know why, but I thought that this was like a contemporary kind of a feel, and it's not. It's very like olden times, and I don't like that. It's not my thing, and I don't want to.
I've stayed consistent with that, at least. I used to say that thrillers and horrors weren't my thing. They very much are now. However, the historical, I'm not a historical girly. I'm not a classics girly or a historical girly, and I don't think that's going to change. So I don't regret not having those at all.
Want to read it. I'm also going to get rid of my Cabot's size 12 and Ready to Rock, and I just hauled this, but I realized it's like not the first of the series, and I should have done better research, and it was a book outlet, inexpensive book, but it still was money that I paid. I don't feel like hunting down the rest of them, and I don't feel like getting them from the library and then only having this one on my shelf. So I feel like even if I did read this eventually, I would still unhaul it because I'm not going to go buy the rest of this series.
I think I got that because at the time Chelsea Dowling had really, really liked their writing and their books. And I was like, oh, I want to try them. But it wasn't for me.
So getting rid of Stieg Larsson's The Girl That Kicked the Hornet's Nest. I do have this whole series. This is the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series, but they're all in these like mass market giant paperbacks. I read them all. I enjoyed them all. I really did like the series. I do have the rest of them again in storage, but I don't need to keep this one because
I stand by that. I did actually really like that series. I read it as they came out, like in a very timely fashion. And I have definitely gotten rid of all the other ones. I did find them after getting them out of storage before my move, and I got rid of all of them. I don't regret that. I liked them when I read them. I don't need them.
I don't think I'm going to reread it, and if I do, I don't want to do it in that format. I'm also biting the bullet and getting rid of Divergent, Insurgent, Allegiant. I was keeping this for a really long time because I did enjoy it. I liked it. Obviously, I didn't like Allegiant. I don't think anybody really liked Allegiant. But I'm not going to ever reread this, and it's taking up a lot of room, and I'm sure I can get, money for this if I take this back to a half-price books. So this is going to go because I don't see.
That's one of those things that was very nostalgic for me, and I think had I had enough shelf space, I may have kept it longer, but I don't think I would have kept it through the move here. Um, it's just not it's not a series that I feel passionately about, and it's not one that I would ever go back to. It's not a favorite from when I read it, that it had, like, a ton of nostalgia to it where I would wanna keep it just to keep it. So, I don't regret that.
See myself rereading it, so I don't need to keep it here. Face Value, which is by Kathleen Baird Murray, and I don't really know anything about this. I read it. I definitely read it, and then
No, I didn't. No, I'm pretty sure I'm lying to you. I don't think I ever read that, and I don't think I ever would have, so I'm okay with that.
I moved with it, and I just don't feel like I'm going to ever reread it, and I don't need it on my shelf, so it's going to go. Foxhole Court, all for the game series. Foxhole Court, The Raven King, All the King's Men. You guys know how I feel about these. It is one of the videos that I still get the most comments on.
So, this is the only book review I still have up on my channel. As an author, I don't do book reviews. I don't have book reviews up on my channel. I don't have any of that. There's like one or two. I think All the Ugly and Wonderful Things still gets comments frequently, and the All for the Game series review still gets comments frequently. Here's the thing, now having been more of a dark romance, bully romance kind of a reader, are they as horrible? No, but they're not good. I stand by not liking it. I do not regret not having these at all, but they were expensive because as an indie pub kind of a situation, you had to pay top dollar for those. That stinks.
Because people just assume that, like, I didn't get it and I missed the point and I only read on surface level, and they defend the shit out of the series. Like, defend the shit out of it. I have not seen enough people mentioning how deeply problematic and troubled this series is. It's pitched as this male romance, as a new adult male romance, college, like, it's a queer book. And I've heard a lot of people in the comments say that this was representative of them surviving trauma, surviving abuse, and that they saw themselves in these characters. And to that, I'm so glad that you could see yourself in a book. I know how important that is. I'm so sorry you saw yourself in these characters, though, because it's dark. Like, and I don't have a problem with dark. You guys know that I don't really shy away from problematic content or from dark or taboo things. I don't mind reading that, but I just thought that this was like, it was tragedy porn. Like, it was written for no other reason than to be tragic, and I just didn't think that it was well done. So I don't like it. I'm not keeping it. It's an indie published thing. I don't really know if anybody's going to want to take it back, but I'm getting rid of it. I'm getting rid of Amy Fetzer's Come As You Are. It's a new adult sexy time. I read it at some point. I don't
think I did. I don't know. I think I probably just assumed I did because it was like from a box of older books or something, but I don't think I ever read that.
To reread it. I'm getting rid of The Witch's Daughter by Paula Braxton. It seems like it could be interesting, aside from the fact that it's set in 1629. I don't want to read historical books. I just don't. It's
cool cover. Cool ass cover. Great title. Premise in a modern setting, maybe. But I am not a historical girly. We will repeat this over and over and over again. So I don't regret not having that.
It's not my thing, and this has been sitting on my shelf for so long, so I was like, it's witchy. I'm super into witchy stuff. A riveting tale of sorcery and time travel, and I don't want to read that, so I'm not going to keep it. Winter Song by S.J. Jones.
Oh my God, the disappointment that was Winter Song. Guys, it was a Labyrinth retelling. I should have loved this book because you know how I feel about Labyrinth. It was so deeply not what I wanted it to be. And I don't regret not having this on my shelf. I regret that it wasn't what I wanted it to be.
This one hurts because this one is one that I pre-ordered full price because it was a Labyrinth retelling and I hated it so much. So I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm not going to read this sequel. I don't care. I don't want to. I am getting rid of Twitter sensation brooding YA hero becoming a main character almost as awesome as me by Carrie Doricio. I tried to read this. I DNF'd it last year. It is like a tongue-in-cheek satirical look at YA novels, and I didn't like it. I DNF'd it. This one was provided to me by the publishers, and I
don't regret that. I stand by that one. I actually do remember trying to read that, and I couldn't get into it. So I'm okay with that life choice.
I don't care. I'm getting rid of Just Like Family, the lives of nannies and the parents they work for, the children they love. I'm pretty sure this was gifted to me because I'm a nanny and I don't nanny anymore, and I don't want to read it.
I don't nanny anymore, says the woman who would go on to nanny for another 5 years. And now I can say I'm no longer a nanny. Will I maybe go back to nannying? Who knows? Hopefully not. But at this point, this Julie probably didn't realize that she was going to go back and nanny for another 5 years for a very wonderful family. But yeah, no, I don't need that book.
Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi. I read
that whole series in audiobook and don't necessarily regret reading them in audiobook. But they were not standouts. They were not fantastic. I was just listening to a lot of audiobooks at the time, and in no way, shape, or form did I need to own those. So I don't regret that.
Whole series in audiobook, and I really, really enjoyed it, but this is the only one that I physically own. I was keeping it in case I wanted to use it for a traveling book, but I just don't think that it needs to stay, so it's gonna go. Also, I'm getting rid of Charlie Higson's The Enemy. I got rid of the rest of the books that I owned in this series. I had like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 12 or something. I don't think I'm going to continue with the series, and I don't think I need to keep this one. Again, I was keeping the first book of the series in case I wanted to use it for a traveling book, but I don't think that's ever going to happen, so I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm getting rid of Casey.
Yeah, I did like the series up until what I read, which I think was probably book 4. But I will never finish the series, and I definitely didn't need to have it. And poor traveling book, man. It was a great idea for a while, and I loved doing it, but it was so much work for what it was. I'm not a Casey West fan, so it didn't work for me, and I don't regret not having that.
West's Fill-In Boyfriend, which we read for a Job in the Librarian's book club, and I didn't annotate it, so I can't really use it for a traveling book because I like to send out them annotated now. And it was just okay. It wasn't anything memorable. I've read it. I'm not going to reread it, so it's going to go. I'm getting rid of Wild Beauty by Anna Marie McLemore, which hurts my heart because this is a gorgeous, gorgeous.
I could not for the life of me read that book. At the time, Anna Marie McLemore was a very, very popular author. People were raving about their writing. It didn't mesh with me. So despite thinking it was a beautiful book and wanting to enjoy it, I just didn't. So I don't regret not having that.
Gorgeous exclusive cover. It is signed. I got this far into it, so take out my bookmark. 181 pages. I got more than halfway through, and I did not like it, so I DNF'd it, and I don't want to keep it. Also getting rid of Diana Gabaldon's Outlander.
Oof. I buddy read that with, I think, 3 or 4 different people, and we used, oh God, what was that platform where you could talk back and forth to people in like group chats and send audio messages? It was like an orange icon. Somebody tell me in the comments because it's not going to come to me. Actively loathed it. Loathed it. I don't know if I would have felt differently had I read it when they came out or when I was younger, but the content, like I DNF'd it. I could not finish it.
So those are all the books that I'm unhauling. This particular unhaul, it was 39 books altogether.
I don't regret a single one of those. Not a single one of those am I like, you know what, I'm going to repurchase that and put it back on my shelf. I'm good. I'm solid. Great life choices, Julie. You did well. It wasn't simply just a lack of space and trying to get rid of things so that I had more space. It was like a genuine, the books just didn't work for me. If you want every book that you've ever read on your shelves, fantastic. Do it. If you have the space for it, rock on. But I love that I have cultivated 6 shelves of books that I love. I still have 12 more unhauls to cover, but that's going to be it for this particular one. Leave me a comment down below if you would have kept any of these. That's going to be all for this one, and I'll see you in my next video, be that an unhaul revisit or something else. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, friends.